We are here on the Sports Skillet radio show, and I am joined by functional fitness specialist Ken Moskowitz. You can find Ken on Fitness Training by Ken on his Facebook page, and also you can find him at about.me/mytrainerken. Ken, we're glad to have you on the Sports Skillet radio show.
I'm glad to be here, Jay. Thank you very much.
You are welcome, and you deal with fitness with the entire body, correct?
That is absolutely correct, yes. I deal with all sorts of exercises, anywhere from jumping jacks to, say, golf. Golf, no two ways about it, is functional fitness. You get every aspect of your body, your arms, your legs, your hips. I don't focus on one specific body part or two. I focus on everything, top to bottom.
That is awesome. So since you go over every single body part, we can talk about some injuries. And the big game this week is going to be Giants traveling down to face the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. And there are some key injuries on both sides. For the Eagles, we have Nelson Aguilar out, as well as Kiko Alonso, Brandon Bear, and Michael Kendricks. Michael Kendricks seems to be a game-time decision with his leg injury.
Yes, from what I've been reading about, it's his hamstring. Just a matter of working that out. So I'm venturing a guess and saying Chip and Bill Davis and Josh Hinks, they're expecting him to definitely practice. You know, we'll see what happens. I mean, it seems like as of right now, Kendricks, obviously, he's aiming him for the big game on Monday night down there at the Link.
Now, with Kiko Alonso's knee injury, how much longer do you anticipate him being out?
Well, let's see. That was in game number 2 against the Cowboys down at the Link. And they claim it wasn't as severe as once thought. And the way it's going right now, it seems like he's doing well, not getting into too many specifics due to time constraints. As of right now, given the bye week, I'm going to guess and say within the next 3 weeks, 4 possibly.
Nice. It would be great to see him back on the field.
Absolutely. With the right type of training that all these coaches, and they're nothing but top-notch and world-class, so I would expect nothing but the best for Kiko.
Cool. And on the Giants side, one of the big injuries that everybody's going to be focusing on is Odell Beckham Jr. Do you think he'll be playing on Monday night?
It's funny to see him here in New York as far as being on the TV and that. Otherwise, it's a given. He'll be there. Hamstring, like with Michael Kendrick, same thing with Odell. Just the difference right now, they have him sitting out. And Ruben Randall, he too had suffered a hamstring pull late in that game Sunday night. And obviously Tom Coughlin pulled both of those guys out. But needless to say, we knew what the result was of that game against the Niners there at MetLife. But I would suspect both Odell and Randall to be also in that game, as Odell knew two ways about it, but Ruben Randall as well, as far as the play time goes for Coughlin and company here in New York.
And the other story to come out of the Giants recently is the one about Daniel Fells. Do you think he can make it back onto the field?
For precautionary reasons, unfortunately, no. I don't specialize in this genre, the medical field. I know the doctors are taking highly precautionary measures just to make sure that this infectious disease doesn't spread to any other part of his body. It's unfortunate that he had to have a partial amputation of his foot. It's unfortunate. As long as they have the precautionary measures that these doctors, and I know they're top-notch here, just as well they're in Philadelphia, and he'll make for a very nice full recovery, but resuming NFL career, it remains to be seen right now. But if I were a venture guess, I would say no.
Gotcha. Just looking at some of the other games as well, the Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner has a pec injury, which could impact him playing on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. How hard is it to come back, do you think, from a pec injury?
If it were strained throughout training, then they're going to feel it. And that's also the same with Prince Amukamara here in New York, too. And Prince is out right now 3 to 4 weeks. It's how hard they train. It's how hard they put their body through all sorts of torture, more or less, and the play. Right now, with limited training in the upper body for both Prince and, who was it again? I'm sorry.
Linebacker Bobby Wagner.
Both of those guys, they can continue their training, but just on a limited basis, work their way up from the bottom to the top again, then both should be fine.
Okay, great. Hopefully he can come back for the game because that's going to be one of the key games we'll be looking at. Also, the Jaguars rookie running back TJ Yeldon has a groin injury and is currently listed as questionable against the Titans. How long do you think a groin injury would tend to linger on?
Maybe a day to 3 days, and that also holds true with Brandon Bear with the Birds. Same thing with the Pecs. Limited amounts of practice, work their way up slowly, back up to top-notch speed, and the coaches and trainers will take it from there.
Gotcha. Changing sports real quick over to baseball, we had a big injury occur last week. Miguel Tejada was taken out by Chase Utley. Do you anticipate a full return by Miguel Tejada?
Oh, absolutely. He's going to take it easy for, I'm sure, a good first quarter of the off season. And once he darts up again, then it's a lot of training, a lot of conditioning with that leg. The trainers have to take it step by step, and hopefully Tejada will be back up in full force again for the Met in the 2016 season. It's sad with what he went through, but at the same time, not that I want to say this, but that's the price you pay for being a shortstop. And end of story.
And what did you think of the Chase Utley slide and ensuing results?
Well, I've had a lot of people with the mixed reactions. My take, practically a lifetime of following baseball. Look, the takeout slide, that's the way it is. I know people will probably throw bad comments on my Facebook Fitness Training by Ken page, but look, Chase has been in the slides and, of course, the receiver of the slides at least 20 times in the 12-year career. Honestly, I can say he was close to the bag. His hand, from what I could tell, grazed the bag. Of course, the unfortunate receiving end of things from Chase was, of course, the knee to his head, which I'm sure that had to have hurt. But I could tell you, though, overall, to me, it was a legitimate slide. I really honestly don't care what anybody tells me, whether it's early, late, or in the lane, out of the lane. As long as he's able to stretch his arm, or if he were to stretch his leg just enough to take out the guy, hey, in my opinion, that's legitimate. And the overall takeout slide, Jay, has been really honestly been around from the infancy of baseball. So question would be, why now? Why do this? The commissioner and Joe Torre, no disrespect to either one, but why? Why now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, of course, we're talking to Ken Moskowitz from Fitness Training by Ken. You can find him on Facebook and also about.me/mytrainerken. And, Ken, we got to get some predictions from you. Who do you think takes the series, Chicago Cubs or the New York Mets?
Well, let me give you this. First off with the Mets. Terry Collins, I've always enjoyed him and his style of managing baseball. From the time he was with the Houston Astros, when the Astros were in the National League, then years later with the Anaheim Angels. Right now, he reminds me of Charlie Manuel. He's got the players right where he wants them, both on either side of the ball. They're having fun right now. At least they're not playing over their head. My opinion is when Terry lets go of that string on that spool, that's when it all starts to unravel, and then play starts to slip, and then here we go. Terry, I think, has got them where he wants them right now. Otherwise, they would have never been in the position that they were in all year long. And, of course, the finish. And as far as the Chicago Cubs go, I haven't seen much of them this year, but I do know Joe Madden is a wonderful, wonderful manager, as well as you know, just as well as I know, from his years with Tampa Bay. He's got those guys having fun, too, which is great. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo's a monster, boy. But right now, I would have to say, for as much as I unfortunately can't stand the Mets, I'm going to say the Chicago Cubs right now in 4 or 5 games. Granted that the Mets be in that game, if it's a reversal of fortune, and if the Mets happen to take the game, the first 2 games to none, then could be a different story. But right now, I honestly think the Chicago Cubs finally get to the World Series in 4 or 5 games over the Mets.
Gotcha. And on the AL side, we have Toronto and Kansas City.
Kansas City, pretty much same thing. I really didn't see too much of either team this year, only through highlights. But I'll tell you, Kansas City, I know, finished best record in all of baseball, finished rather strong. Overall, from what I've seen, I haven't been too impressed with their play in round one. They've managed to come back, and that's where Houston had some leads and unfortunately blew them. Otherwise, it would have been a whole different story on that side of things. And as far as Toronto goes, Toronto, that's another fun team to watch, boy. They are amazing. Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista. The way the comebacks are with Kansas City and the way Toronto's playing, I could see that going a full 7 games. And with Toronto winning, and I could see the Chicago-Toronto thing pretty much happening as far as the World Series goes. And I'll tell you right now, if both teams get in there, I think it'll go 6 or 7 games.
Nice. Ken, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Sports Skillet radio show. And can you give our listeners the address on where to contact you?
Sure. They can contact me through about.me/mytrainerken. That's Ken at the end. And then as far as the Facebook thing goes, it's Fitness Training by Ken. That's my page on Facebook. I put up all sorts of great stuff. Soon we'll be putting up a lot more, so please look for that, and that's really it.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Ken. We appreciate it.
Sure thing, Jay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.